Alrighty now, welcome back to a very festive, pre-Christmas decorated Frat House. And 5 minutes at the Frat House with Frat House Mike and Sidekick. So how was your Thanksgiving? Huh?
Good.
Lot of turkey, lot of football watching?
Oh, yes. Football. Well, football and soccer.
You're watching soccer?
Yes, I watched some soccer. I watched Liverpool versus the Young Boys.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into it, but I was all into that Saturday college football scene that occurred this past Saturday, and we're going to get into a little bit of that. We're going to start the show out, though, a little bit differently this evening. We're actually going to open the show with our Frat House Facebook post of the week. And that's the post that got the most action, and it was actually posted up by our production assistant, Jen, who last week wrote, "Decking the halls at the Frat House, Christmas decorations have made an appearance. Trying a new chocolate chip cinnamon bread recipe, getting homemade tomato soup going, all with the sounds of college football in the background. 'Tis the season." And just for all of you that might be curious, listen, I don't want you to think that that's an unusual thing. That's the way it is every day here at the Frat House. You can bet on that one, isn't that right? You know that.
Yep.
It's not just that way during the holidays. So do us a favor, keep the posts coming, the good stuff all through the holidays. Hey, one of the things you got to do is make sure you get out there first and like our Frat House Facebook post, our Facebook page, and that's the Frat House Eagleville. You got to get out there and like that, and then you'll get all of our national updates every single day. All right?
And then go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. That's the next step. We'll get for one step at a time. One step at a time. All right?
It's not the 12-step program?
Listen, all of that was, though, I thought Sidekick was a great segue because I thought perhaps maybe what we would do is just do a little bit of kind of pre-playoff, pre-bowl season chat about college football as we enter the last weekend of play. Many teams are now in their conference championships coming up this weekend. But something happened last week that the national media has bought into big time. And that is that the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame will be playing in the BCS National Championship game and potentially could win the national title for the first time since 1988.
Not going to happen.
And I would. And that gives me an opportunity to kind of address something that's been bugging me for decades. Frankly, I need someone to explain to me what the mystique is to Notre Dame. And what the mystery is. Because frankly, I got to be honest, I don't get it. Now, I know it's not something that's recent, but there's some sort of magical, mystical history here that I don't know if it has something to do with Newt Rockne or winning one for the Gipper. But after having roamed this planet now for over 50 years, I don't get it, and no one has ever been able to explain it to me to my satisfaction. Now look, let me be straight about it. I'm Irish, and I'm Catholic, and I've resided my whole life in around the suburbs of Philadelphia. And because I didn't attend a Catholic college, or I did attend a Catholic college that did not have a football program, so many people automatically assume that I must be a Fighting Irish fan. Invariably, I get this sort of response from those out there that these people out there that ask me these questions. They're fraudulent. This fraudulent kind of fandom of theirs, who have this affinity to an institution in South Bend, Indiana, where they look at me and they go, oh, "You're Irish Catholic, and you're not a Notre Dame fan?" No, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not. Immediately, I get this automatic follow-up nasty question, why not? More appropriately, my question is posed to them, and that is, why are you a Notre Dame fan? Because I'm here to tell you right now, every single person, and I'm not exaggerating, every single person I know who is a Notre Dame fan, a Fighting Irish fan, has absolutely no affinity to that institution whatsoever. They didn't attend, their parents didn't attend, their grandpop didn't attend. I have taken so much abuse over the last number of decades for my lack of support of this Catholic French-named school with a bizarrely Irish mascot. What's up with that? From fellow Irish Catholics that I've actually gotten to the point where I now resent the institution. I've gotten to the point where, listen, I avoided it at all costs. I wouldn't even go there to see it if given a formal invitation. So Irish fans right now are all in a lather over the fact that they're playing in the BCS championship, probably against Alabama. Well, whoop-de-doo for them. By the way, I got one more question. How is it that an independent school, an institution that sets their own football schedule and does not have any conference championship or conference competition because, well, let's get it straight, they're not part of any conference, is granted the recognition of being nationally ranked playing in BCS bowls? I think it ought to be required that in order for an institution to be considered for national ranking, they must be a member of a conference, of a Division I conference. Why do we as a country extend so much special privilege to one, did you hear me? One institution in the entire country. Why? Because they have a pretty gold-colored dome as their legendary landmark building? I know that many of my comments here are not going to be popular, but I'm pleading right now, particularly to all of the Irish Catholics out there, and particularly those that know me. Please, please, please do not assume that every one of your brethren out there should automatically be a Fighting Irish fan if the only reason that you can provide us for your devotion is because I'm Catholic, or because it's a tradition, or because my dad did. To that, I say you're a fraud.
Drink.
Absolutely.
And roll tide.
Yeah, you got that one straight. Oh. Let's get on to some real football. How about that one? Let's go over and take a look at the NFL. Here we go. We got just 5 games remaining in the entire season, yep. Sidekick. And I thought that before we would get into our 4 highlighted games for this week, there were a couple of interesting stories I thought that we really, really needed to touch on. And one of them comes to us from San Francisco and from the 49ers. Yesterday, San Francisco 49er head coach Jim Harbaugh announced that previous starting quarterback Alex Smith will sit, while second-year backup Colin Kaepernick will get the start this week anyhow, after having started the past 2 games. In his announcement, Harbaugh said, and I quote, "The rationale is we have 2 quarterbacks that we feel great about as a starting quarterback. Both have earned it. Both deserve it. Alex over a long period of time, Colin by virtue of the last 3 games. It tips the scales. Colin, we believe, has the hot hand. We'll go with Colin and we'll go with Alex. They're both our guys." Now, in some respects, Sidekick, I somewhat feel vindicated here because, as most know from previous shows, I've always kind of contended that I felt that Smith was strictly a mediocre quarterback. However,
I believe the term was fraud.
However,
drink.
Let's take a look at this for a moment because Smith is currently right now ranked the 5th quarterback in the entire league with 15 TDs and 5 interceptions and a QB rating of 104.1. So regardless of my personal opinions, I guess we're going to go into this a little bit. Coming from the 3rd best team right now in the NFC and the leader of the Western Division with an 8-2-1 record, I'm kind of scratching my head just a bit. I'm not sure if utilizing quarterbacks like NHL hockey goaltenders is such a good idea. We've seen this tried before with other teams in the NFL. There hasn't been a heck of a lot of success with it in the past. Is this the right move? I'm seriously, I am scratching my head over this. And the other interesting thing is it potentially makes Alex Smith available. So, what are your thinking? What's your thinking on this?
Well, first of all, it's almost like a fantasy violation, because here you're running with Alex Smith, and all of a sudden they're going to say, "Oh, now we're going to go with Kaepernick."
Yeah, right. I mean, look, Kaepernick has looked good. Don't get me wrong.
I'm not taking anything away from Kaepernick.
I'm just wondering, is this the right move? I mean, this is an Alex Smith team that took them to the playoffs last year, pretty deep into the playoffs. As I pointed out, is the 5th ranked quarterback in the entire league. Mm-hmm. A very respectable QB rating. I mean, is this really? I mean, is there something here we don't know? I mean, are they not happy with this guy?
Well, in researching for this, I found this article from the Chicago Tribune, mm-hmm. where the writer tried to, muddy things a little bit, and point out that, when Harbaugh came in, he traded 3 picks away to move up in the draft, to get Kaepernick. Even though he had Alex Smith, in the offseason, Harbaugh was going after Peyton Manning. Alex Smith wound up going to Miami, talked to Miami about getting a starting quarterback job there, and then once Manning, gracefully bowed out, they were like, no, come back to San Francisco, and that. But here's how I'm looking at it. I think it's a little bit different. I'm going to give Harbaugh a little bit of credit and say he's probably being a little smart here. You figure you got a quarterback who got a concussion against the Rams 3 weeks ago. All right, Kaepernick's come in. He's been the hot hand. We were like, we talked about it.
Yep.
We thought, Chicago was going to run all over, 49ers in that first week. And he's now 2-0 as a starter.
Yep.
They're going to St. Louis now to play the Rams again. In a game that they tied previously. They were losing when Alex Smith was in. Kaepernick got them back to a tie.
Right.
All right. So I think, and also Jim Harbaugh has not said that he's the permanent starter. He's the starter this week. So I think what he's doing is saying, okay, we've got Alex Smith coming back from a concussion. So let's let him sit another week. He's healthy. He's past his concussion stuff. Let's let him sit this week. Give him another week. Kaepernick's hot. We're going to put him in against the Rams, who we tied previously, and we're hard against Smith. And maybe this will give us a chance to win the game.
All right. Let me play devil's advocate here with me for a moment.
Sure.
Let's say they lose this game this week with Kaepernick under center. Now they're 8-3-1. There's 4 games left in the season. The Western Conference is looking, or Western Division is looking pretty strong there. You got Seattle down there who's making a move upward. We're going to talk about, I think, Seattle's game shortly here. If they lose, does he go back to Alex Smith next week?
Well, I mean, I would think so.
Okay.
I mean, he may.
So we could see a rotating.
Regardless, if they win this week or they don't win this week, you could see Alex Smith starting next week. That's the way Jim Harbaugh left it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think since, like I said, I'm going to give the guy benefit of a doubt of, being able to, put some thought behind this.
Right.
He's got the luxury of being able to start another quarterback without having to actually bench your starter who's been playing up to that point.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's been out injured. So he can say, you know what, take another week, rest up, heal up, let Colin go this week against the Rams, and then after this game, we'll
assess it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh doesn't strike me as being someone that knee-jerks necessarily anyhow. I mean, we could certainly point to quite a few other coaches out there, I think, that would go back and forth like that. Yeah. But Harbaugh doesn't strike me that way.
I mean, I think he's got a little bit of doubt when it comes to Smith.
Right.
Most
that's the sense I've gotten, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I don't think this is, it's like, totally, now he's hurt, now I can bench him forever.
Yeah, right.
And we'll trade him in the offseason kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just trying to put his team in a winning situation. And given how hard he was played before.
We know right now, though, Smith himself has come out and has said he's not very pleased about the situation.
Well, and that's fine. Cry me a river. I mean, come on. If you're a starting quarterback and you get benched or, you go out hurt and then you're healthy and you want to get back into the game and play and the coach says, you know what, take
another week.
We're going to,
Well, let's see how...
There isn't a starting quarterback in the NFL it's going to say, oh, I'm happy about that.
Well, sure. Let's see, though, if it plays out that way. And we'll, as the weekend goes through, and we'll be curious to see where things go in Week 14. The other interesting story, albeit I have it listed down here as kind of an odd story of the week, were the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that right now is just, in many respects, just spinning out of control. They went and they cut defensive end Jason Babin and apparently it was done by head coach Andy Reid on Tuesday. He did it over the phone. Now, Babin was a guy that the Eagles had made a real concerted effort to acquire last season. And he led the team, and he's led the team really for the past two seasons in sacks with 23.5 of them over the past 2 seasons. 18 of those last season. Now, I will say this season, it's been somewhat diminished, obviously. This seems to me to be a rather odd move on the part of the Eagles for a couple of reasons, Sidekick. The Eagles are obviously a team that's going nowhere. They're not making the playoffs. Everybody knows that. All they owed Babin for the remainder of the season was $1.69 million. To me, it didn't appear to be a cost-cutting or a cost-saving kind of measure. It didn't appear to be that way to me. But the other reason, though, that it struck me, the second reason that it struck me as being a little odd, it's been assumed now for some time that Reed is gone at the conclusion of this season. Mm-hmm. But by making this kind of a move, he certainly appears to be in he's got some level of control involved here. And would you give that kind of control to a lame duck coach, somebody who's not going to be here after the next 5 games, potentially might not be here before the season's out? I mean, he could be cut, he could be fired himself, in the next week or 2.
Well, I don't think this is his decision.
Okay.
I think this came from above. And honestly, I think this is your warning shot of things to come with the Eagles. We were discussing it before the show.
Right.
I got a feeling you're going to see a major offload of personnel ramping up here between now, the end of the season, and once the season ends.
Right.
You're gonna see wholesale people getting dropped.
I guess it wouldn't surprise me if what you're saying is true. I guess it's just kind of coming as a bit of a shock to me before the season is in conclusion. I would suspect.
I mean, I was absolutely surprised. I mean, I was just commenting this weekend on the, it was either my status or one of the, maybe even the Eagleville status, Frat House Eagleville statuses was, hey, buck up, Eagles fans. You could be a Rams fan. I mean, we've been at the bottom for a couple of years now, and then I see this come, and now I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not that bad to be a Rams fan now, because you're going to start to see the one thing with the Rams is we're still not that good this year, but I think we're coming out of the hole now. We're going to ascend up.
I agree with you.
And I think there's going to be several dark years for Eagles fans.
Yeah,
I think you're still in that slot. You haven't hit bottom yet.
I agree with you.
I think it's going to be a couple of years before you really bottom out and can turn.
Let's go have a ham sandwich.
Well, maybe a couple of them, huh? By the time we get things all put together, we might need a couple of ham sandwiches. All right. Well, not good news. Not a good prognosis there from Sidekick, but we'll see where all of that comes down.
Sorry to be doom and gloom on that. But,
let's go take a look at 4 games. 4 games that we think are going to have some impact this week in the NFL. And as I mentioned, I alluded to, we're going to take a look at the Seattle Seahawks, who are 6-5, and they're going to be at the Chicago Bears, who are 8-3, and that's the 1:00 game on Sunday. And I have been somewhat impressed, as I just pointed out, with the Seahawks, who have kind of quietly, in my opinion, put together an interesting team and an interesting season. And Russell Wilson has quietly put together a rather surprising season. He's currently ranked 12th in the league with 17 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. Nonetheless, they're coming off a disappointing loss last week to Miami, 24-21, where they actually did lead that game 21-14 with less than 8 minutes remaining in the game. Wilson, though, was 21 of 27 for 244 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions, and a 125.9 QB rating. Now, this week, though, they are traveling to Chicago, who had no trouble last week taking care of the Vikings, 28-10. Cutler was back under center, and he looked okay with 1 TD and 1 interception. And while I was hoping for a bit more from Matt Forte, it actually turned out to be Michael Bush that led the rushing offense and collected up 2 TDs. This game looks like, Sidekick, that it should be heavily favored in Chicago's direction. And I'm actually thinking it could be quite close, really. The Bears are favored by 3.5 with a paltry over-under projection on this. I mean, it's really low. So obviously they're thinking it's going to be a defensive game. What's your feel on this?
Well, yeah, this is going to be when I was thinking about, bomb picks and stuff, this was one of the games I was thinking about because I thought it was going to be a really defensive matchup. You know, the Seahawks, you've got it's almost like a tale of two cities, kind of. The Seahawks have played really well at home and play like junk when they're on the road.
Right.
We saw that in Miami last week. You know, they lost. I'm not quite sure what the record is on the road, but I think they may be an 0 on the road. Now, but it's also going to be a bad day for Jay Cutler because his line sucks. He's going to get beaten around. But I'm going to go with the Bears on this one because Seattle on the road is horrible.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going with the Bears as well. I think the defense there, and I think the over-under is indicating as such. And you got to give the nod. Although I think Seattle's defense is quite good, I think you got to give the nod to the Bears defense at home. All right, let's go take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 6-5, and they are going to go down to Baltimore, who are 9-2, and this is the 4:25 game on Sunday. Now we've got this one on the schedule because it is an interdivision rivalry. But really the intrigue here is with the Steelers QB, Sidekick. We got to see last week that Charlie Batch is not the best option as the Steelers went down.
When was Charlie Batch
ever a good option, right? Went down to the Cleveland Browns last week. They lost 20-14. Now, last word I heard yesterday was that Roethlisberger was a 50-50 for this weekend. Now, I haven't heard anything definitively yet at this point. Regardless of whether he plays or not, though, you have to wonder how effective he's going to be up against the Ravens defense. Now, I know that they've been somewhat injured and decimated a little bit, but nonetheless, they're still a pretty solid defense. The Ravens last week dismissed the San Diego Chargers 16-13 on the arm of Joe Flacco, who put the ball in the air 51 times, but he only completed 30 of those for one TD to Dennis Pita. The offensive movement, his offensive movement, though, through the air was good enough to get kicker Justin Tucker in position to go 3 for 3 on field goals, and that was the difference. To be honest with you, that may just be enough of a game plan. What Baltimore had there last week, that might just be enough of a game plan if you're going up against a Roethlisberger Steelers team. Ravens are favored in this by 8. Sidekick, is this a no-brainer?
Well, you know, I've read some of the reports about Roethlisberger, and basically at this point, they say he's healthy.
Right.
He just doesn't have the arm strength yet, they feel. So it looks like they're leaning towards Batch this weekend. But regardless of whether Roethlisberger is in or not, Ravens.
Right. And this is a interdivision game.
Yep. And it's also my
Bomb Diggity Bomb
pick of the week.
I think with so much doubt hanging over over the QB, I think you have to go with the Ravens. And I think the fact that this is a late line, this line only came out today, it was off for the longest time, and they're saying it at 8. I think you got to go with the Ravens. Alrighty, number 3, let's go take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 6-5, and they are traveling out to San Diego, who are 4-7, and that again is a 4:25 game on Sunday. And I guess my question here is, are we seeing Andy Dalton start to buckle down and get ready for the playoffs? Because last week he was actually pretty darn good. He was 16 for 30 with 3 TDs, no interceptions. And the Bengals just actually put a smackdown on the Raiders 34-10. Dalton has moved up the list now and is now ranked 11th on the QB ranking list in the entire league. And you take a look at the balance of that particular game. Sidekick, 221 yards on the ground, 210 yards in the air. I'm not sure if they're playoff bound yet, but I think the Bengals certainly could be in the mix when you start talking wild cards. The Chargers, on the other hand, are a team that's going in reverse, having lost 3 in a row now. And we talked about this game a bit earlier. They're coming off their 16-13 loss to the Ravens. Interestingly, despite the lackluster play of the teams, Phil Rivers is a surprisingly ranked 13th in the league. His biggest problem, Sidekick, is the fact he has no line in front of him. Rivers has been sacked 32 times.
You know,
that's second in the league, right behind Aaron Rodgers.
That's interesting how many teams we talk about this year
with offensive line problems. Yep. So really, I think that's been a lot of the issue here with San Diego is the lack of protection for Rivers. Interestingly, though, Cincinnati is only favored by 2.5. What do you see here?
Ginger power.
The Ginger Giant comes alive.
Ginger Giant. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Bengals on this one. The Chargers are just, like you said, going in reverse.
Yep.
You know, I even saw reports today linking Andy Reid with San Diego now.
Yeah, right.
North Turn.
It's been talked.
You know,
Yep.
So, you know, he can go out there and work on his team.
Of course, that was talked last year, too. So, you know, we'll see where...
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But Cincinnati, you're taking Cincinnati. I'm taking Cincinnati as well on that one. Last but not least, let's go take a look at the Monday night game, and that's the New York Giants, 7-4, who are going down to Washington, who are 5-6. And I alluded to this game a little bit earlier. This could be, in my opinion, one of the best games of the entire weekend, as we take a look at two NFC East rivals in a division where it appears no one really wants to win this. And it may actually come down to the wire. Last week, the Giants made the Packers look like they were playing the Jaguars. Let's get it straight. They beat them down 38-10. Balance, Sidekick. That's what I've been talking about with this Giants team since last year, huh? How about this? 2 rushing touchdowns and 3 more in the air. 147 yards on the ground, 249 yards in the air. Plus, we had a salsa dance from Victor Cruz. Eli Manning had 3 TDs, no interceptions, and 114.4 QB rating. The Redskins put themselves in a tie with the Cowboys last week, beating the Cowboys 38-31. RG3 was 19-27, 304 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, 131.8 QB rating. And he just continues every week to help himself out in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. I had mentioned on Fan Junkies Radio yesterday that this could be very, very interesting. Because if the Cowboys beat the Eagles, which is what I think is likely to happen, which is what I'm suspecting.
Is likely?
Is likely. I think it is likely, yes. The Redskins.
I'm sorry. I'm not thinking it is likely. I think it's going to happen.
Okay. The Redskins. I'm being politically correct here, dude. The Redskins are going to go into the Monday night game matchup, seeing the real possibility that they've got a shot over the next couple of weeks of potentially winning the East. You're going to have to win the East to get into the playoffs. There's not going to be any wild card coming out of here. The Giants are only favored by 2.5 in what is projected to be a defenseless, offensive, high-powered game. The over/under on this is 51. It's whopping. It's the biggest one on the board. So, where do you have this one going?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, we talked about every time we talk about the Redskins and Dallas conversation. Mm-hmm. You know, back to the Dallas Redskins game, or I'm sorry, back to the Dallas Philadelphia game. You know, whoever wins this game is going to have momentum.
Right.
Dallas won. Came into Redskins. They lost the momentum. Now the Redskins have the momentum. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you know, the Giants are at the top. You've got to try and knock off the Giants. I think I'm going to call an audible this week. I actually circled something different, but last minute I'm going to call an audible on this, and I'm going to say that I think RG3 scalps Eli Manning.
How about that one? Well, interesting. We're picking all the same again as well. I picked Washington to upset in this particular game. Yes, I did. I really think that the momentum might be shifting that way just a bit, and I think the fact that they're going to be playing on Monday night when they're going to already know what the results are from the Dallas Cowboys is going to be a big help. Taking Washington. How do you like that one? Second week in a row, we picked exactly the same ones.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's wrap up this week's show. And let's start it off with a reminder, please, for Fan Junkies, fanjunkies.net. All right. There have been quite a few new members that have signed up recently, quite a lot, actually. And you got to get over there, help out my buddy Jonathan Regis over at fanjunkies.net. Get over there, sign up. It's completely free. Fan Junkies, where sports meets social media. Also, Fan Junkies Radio. Boy, we had a terrific week this week. Jonathan and I on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday we had on former NBA player and current New Orleans Hornets scout Chucky Brown. Boy, he was just an absolute delight to have on. Wednesday, we had an incredibly lively conversation with numerous participants involved about fan behavior. And tomorrow, we have former Philadelphia 76er Willie Burton And that one, it's one packed week. What can I tell you? Here's the best part of it. You can listen to it live on Blog Talk Radio. You go there, just type in Fan Junkies. You'll find us. If you can't get it live, guess what? Go to Blog Talk Radio after the fact. Everything is archived. You can listen to the shows after the fact. So check that out. Last but not least, our newest venture, FratHouseSports.net. Get over there. You can read my rant. The rant that I did here tonight in much greater detail about Notre Dame football. We also have a story coming up on the AFC playoff picture coming from our staff writer, Zach Hafer, and that should be up there on our site tomorrow. Plus, all of our 5 minutes videos are posted there as well. You got all easy access. You got a little UFC update.
Yes, not quite UFC. MMA.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This Saturday, doors open 6:30. It's XFE Cage Wars down at Harrah's in Chester, Pennsylvania. For those of us that are local, our
that's right.
Sponsored fighter Hector will be in the cage.
Okay.
So best of luck to him. He's got his weigh-ins tomorrow. So I'll be down there Saturday to get some pictures and stuff. So best of luck to him.
Excellent. Get down there and get your T-shirts. You'll find our logo on there. All right. All right. We'll be back to you here next week on December 6th. How about that? It'll be in December. So one more thing you got to do for us all, particularly for the holidays. You know what it is. You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. Keep us going. See you next week.
They need a touchdown, down by 9. Whittick, pose, in. But the whistle was blown right before the snap. Lane Kiffin calls timeout.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. So they settle for a field goal. 19-10 as that pass is incomplete. So now it's 19-13. For game, USC needs a big play. And guess what? They get it. There's Lee, finally, 53 yards. But from here, there's 5:40 left. It took USC forever to try to score. Look, now we're down to 3:18, and they're still not in the end zone. They needed to score right away. Hold Notre Dame and make them punt, but instead, now it's 4th and goal with 2.5 minutes to go, and they don't get it. Incomplete. Even if they did get it, it took them forever, almost 3 minutes to go 2 yards. Brian Kelly incomplete. Then Taiteo feels it. Closing seconds of the game. Notre Dame, with that stop, they know it's theirs. USC, no timeouts left. The handshake at halftime, and they get it done.